Welcome to Bicycle Retail Radio, the bicycle industry podcast that brings retailers, vendors, advocates, and thought leaders to the mic for honest discussions about the latest issues facing retailers while taking an in-depth look at the person within the profession.
Welcome to the Flex. Today's version is our Technician Flex. It's our newest addition to Bicycle Retail Radio. It's an ongoing podcast feature focused specifically on service center and mechanics, produced in partnership with NBDA educational partner, Northwest Arkansas Community College's Bicycle Assembly and Repair Technician Program Director, Benjamin Glenn. I'm Heather Mason, NBDA President. Benjamin, welcome to the podcast again.
Thanks. Yeah, it's great to be back for another episode. Looking forward to the conversation today.
Yeah, me too. So listeners, if you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced cycling enthusiast, Northwest Arkansas Community College's unique program allows you to access affordable, industry-recognized training that can enhance your hobby or put you on the trail to a career in the cycling industry. If you're a retailer listening and you have staff working for you that hasn't gone through professional training, this is an amazing opportunity that everyone should know about. Mechanics can earn a Bicycle Industry Employers Association accredited certification in bicycle assembly and repair, and gain skills in bicycle mechanics, wheel repair and assembly, bearing, suspension systems, service department operations, electric bikes. There's so much. It's just an amazing program. And Ben, you've been there for a couple of years now, right? Going on your second year?
Yeah, this is actually my third year, third cohort of students. So, we're right in the kind of the middle of our first semester with these students. So we're learning a lot of things. The first 2 years were fantastic, and we have our biggest class yet. So I'm looking forward to continuing to grow the program.
It's fabulous to see it continue to grow. And the NBDA team, we had a chance and opportunity at our summit, our retailer summit that happened in May 2023, to tour the facility, to bring retailers in. And I think everyone was just amazed. Because of that visit, we got with Ben and we asked him if it was okay if we created this monthly podcast feature to answer questions that retailers and mechanics had, specifically on service department operations, continuing education and training, and things like proactive and reactive service. So this has been a great opportunity. Our second episode, we're answering questions that retailers submitted directly to us. So Ben, are you ready to do this again?
Yeah, ready for the questions. Excited awesome. to get through these. Yeah.
Okay, so the first question comes from one of our NBDA retailer members, and they ask, what specific tactics could be used to assess the aptitude of a potential mechanic? This is a great question because as we're interviewing people, trying to figure out if they're going to be good or not, what tactics could be used to assess the aptitude?
Yeah, this kind of really comes at a perfect time during the season. Shop owners, retailers are looking at, what are we going to do this, this off-season time? So what are our improvements? I hope everyone's looking for that. What's our potentials for growth? So, opportunity to review your service processes and also your interview process as well. So I think that, this question, first we start with that interview process and how the role within the service department is advertised. Is this role open to experienced technicians only? Is it entry level with the opportunity to train? So I think it's, you start with that interview process. If you're hiring for a technician, are you hiring for just experienced folks only, or are you looking to bring someone new into the industry and into your space so you can have the chance to train those? So I like to think about those questions that I would even ask, like when I first meet that person during the interview. Describe some experiences you have working with hand tools. So just literally ask them that. What do you do? How are you working with hand tools? Do you have experience with a hammer? Do you have experience with a hacksaw? Tell me about those things like that. And then you can graduate into more specific bike tech questions. So simply asking, what's the first thing you do during a drivetrain adjustment on your personal bike? Ask some of those organizational questions as well. Attention to detail. As you go through that interview process, there might be other questions that come up as well. I always, as the interview, I always like to also observe that person and kind of their body language. That really helps out, I feel like, with understanding, how that I can, if I can visualize that person working in the space, I think that helps out too. Ideally, if this role is open to an entry-level tech, it's great to ask about their experience with taking an initiative and critical thinking or problem solving. Get an understanding of their desire to improve a process or processes that you might have. You could say, hey, here's our service menu. As someone new to this space, which of these stick out? Which do you think you could tackle, first day? Which would, you have no idea even what a bottom bracket is. That's fine. We have opportunity to train through those things, or, we're really looking for someone with some experience that can come in and remove that bottom bracket. So
there's a lot of great points you brought up in there. And I'm thinking about just asking, if it was your bike, what is the first thing you would do for a drivetrain adjustment? I mean, that is a fabulous question to ask, and it will really get you a better understanding of what the person knows. I'm thinking people are, registering for your class, they're coming to your college. You must have people that show up thinking they're already mechanics as well, and possibly they are, but how do you assess a student? Like, if I ask the question back to you, how do you assess your students? Or do you just start at the same level for everyone?
Yeah, we start out thinking that everyone has no idea what a bicycle is. So we start at the very simple. We got to make sure everyone is growing kind of at the same pace. I've got a student right now that I worked with, I don't know, like 10 years ago in the bike shop, and I worked with this person for maybe 4 or 5 years, side by side, working in the shop. Great technician, aptitude for pretty much anything hands-on. This person has done almost everything in construction. So he's here in the shop working with me. I'm teaching him now, which is really strange, to be quite honest, because I feel like I can learn a lot of things from him. But just some of the small things he picks up, slowing down, taking time to make sure you're doing quality work. Some of those processes as well. If he's got step 3 before step 1. He's going to slow down his efficiency on how to actually make a profit in the shop, because, shop work, it's fantastic. We're all super passionate about bikes, but if we're not making a profit through our efficiency and our craft in the way that we're actually doing the service to that bike, then, we're never going to be able to grow our service department and actually start turning that profit.
Yeah. So I love that this, I guess our best practice, best tip is to ask specific questions during the interview. Pay attention to the person that you're interviewing, just observing their personal skills, maybe how they hold themselves during the interview. And then just asking about their understanding of specific tools that we use on bikes. And then when we do bring them in, making sure that we train them to our culture, our expectations. There's important things you mentioned, just slowing down so we can be sure we're making a profit and having experienced techs. Excellent. All right, ready for the next one, Ben?
Yes.
All right, so let's keep going. Lots of questions came in. I like this question. So the question reads, what do you estimate the initial investment would be to equip a small bicycle repair shop for 1 or 2 mechanics? So I think this came from someone looking to open a shop, and they want to know, what would the cost be to make sure that their shop is set up for 1 or 2 mechanics?
This is kind of you can answer this in a lot of different ways, I feel like. I will say that I was just reading an article this morning about a person that's lives in Australia, and this person, went to university, grad school, all these other things, and then started working part-time at a bike shop. Absolutely fell in love with bike shops and repair work, and learned from a lot of really great mentors, people that were willing to share that information with them. And then they went on to actually be an independent mechanic. So they were working out of their house, still working a full-time job, doing the mechanic side part-time, and then decided to open their own shop, and quickly realized that they were not charging enough per hour to make this sustainable, where they could pay their mortgage, continue to, feed their kids, all those things. So ended up having to take another part-time job while also working full-time as an independent mechanic. So I think that really, and that article was fantastic in other ways as well, but that really kind of opened my eyes to this. What does it look like to open a repair shop? Are you looking at a certain location? What's your payroll? How much do you want to pay your technicians? You know, do you want just to make enough to survive, or are you looking at making a profit? When do you want to be profitable? At what point are we wanting to be profitable and not reliant on the initial startup money? One thing I would highly recommend, and I think would be extremely helpful, is completing a business course or two online or in person. Community colleges are great for that. There's a ton of online schools as well. I think Harvard even offers some of their business courses online, just to get an understanding of what it's like to build a business, to even write that initial business plan. I think it's going to go a long way in your investment in yourself. So take time out, really approach it from a business aspect. A bike shop, no matter the size, is a business and should be managed like a business. Back to my statement of we all love bikes and we're super passionate, but passion and love only go so far in the sound business plan. So if you have these goals, if you're able to measure those and see how progress is happening, that's really going to help you in understanding profitability. At what point can you make a profit? I've got a friend that opened a hair salon not too far from the college here, and he's just now not having to pull from that original business loan in his on year 2, and he's extremely successful. He's got 3 or 4 other people that have rented booths from him, so he's really happy about where he is. So I think approaching it from a business perspective, that year 2 he's not having to pull money from that original business loan, and he's able to start paying that down. So
yeah. No, I like the way you're looking at this, because it's not just like, okay, we're going to open up a mechanic shop. I'm going to tell you that you're going to need to buy a couple stands. You're going to need to buy tools. You actually need to look at like how efficient can you be? How many hours are you going to be open? How many mechanics? How many bays? What are you going to charge for your services? What's your overhead costs? And put that all into a spreadsheet and figure it out. It's not just as easy as saying like, let's open a repair shop.
Right.
So great question. And the NBDA team, we actually have spreadsheets to help you figure out the profitability of your repair shop. So if you wanted to reach out to us at info@nbda.com, we can help you work through those numbers because it is very specific. Ben, great answer to that.
I will follow up. We did have a student that from our second cohort that did open a bike shop, but he partnered with a local coffee shop to make that happen. And so the business partner from the coffee shop was able to really bring him into what it's like to have a business going. So that was exciting, and I almost forgot about that shop that had just opened a couple months ago. So
it is fun to partner with other businesses like that as well.
Absolutely.
All right, a couple more questions for today's episode. This one I like. This is a question I hear often from retailers. All these bikes are coming in for service, especially with e-bikes, not a lot of room to store these bikes when they're done being repaired. So the question is, what can a shop do to motivate customers to pick up completed repairs the same day they are ready?
Yeah, that's a big one. Always was a struggle, even way back in the early 2000s. It seems like, when I was in the shop, we had more bikes finished than we actually had to work on sometimes. I like to start out with that simple communication right up front. Communicate, confirm the pickup time, date prior to that customer even leaving the bike there. If maybe there's a storage fee, maybe the shop has a storage fee after X number of days, you want to make sure you communicate that with the customer right up front. So could be an opportunity as well to start some sort of delivery service for completed repairs at a small cost to the customer. I would always recommend that shops have a built-in signature line for the service writer, so the bicycle service writer, and the customer to sign off on at the end of that initial estimate, the acceptance of that estimate. You present the customer with that estimate, they accept it, let's sign off on it, let's make sure you understand when we'll have the bike done for you. Bringing some of that value is absolutely key. And I think this can also be done for understanding when they should pick up that repair. Now, is it a perfect plan? Absolutely not. There's always, people that are just going to leave it there, and then a year later, after you've maybe donated the bike, or something else has happened to that bike, they come back looking for their bike. Personally, I've never had that happen. I was in the bike shops from 2006 to 2016, and it just seemed like we always had 1 or 2 bikes that were kind of in storage and never had a good plan in place for that. If there's a storage fee, it was, not always a great plan, but I think there's opportunity to confirm some expectations before the customer leaves, and then also build in some type of storage fee if that's something that could be happening in your shop, and make sure that if there's an opportunity to start a delivery service, maybe you're considering that as well.
Awesome suggestions. Communicate. And also I would just add in, when the repair's done, you can text or call the customer, let them know it's done. And then again, communicate if you have that storage fee or what process you have in place. So awesome suggestions, Ben. I love that you do this with us. Thank you so much. I know you're busy over there running the school and you're taking your time out to help our members. So we'll do one more question for today. It's a big question, Ben. And it came in actually from our last episode, which if you're listening to this flex for the first time, this is our second technician flex. You can see the NBDA YouTube channel to view our first flex. This question came in as a comment off our first flex, and it reads this. It's written and submitted by a 15-year mechanic and service manager who says, I would like to see the long-term viability of a bicycle mechanic career addressed. This has been an ongoing problem for many years. The industry loses highly skilled mechanics all the time because the jobs are slow to pay a living wage. This may be somewhat dependent on location, but I can say for certain that has been a serious problem in Portland, Oregon, and San Francisco, which are two cities that are recognized as top cycling cities. If Portland and San Francisco are such stellar cities for cycling, why are mechanics struggling to make ends meet?
I couldn't, agree anymore with any of these statements here. I referenced an article that I was reading this morning. It was an opinion piece in a online publication, or online kind of media conglomerate, if you will, or media empire called Escape Collective. And this was an opinion piece by pretty much the same person that's writing in this in here. This person was I think 20 years mechanic service manager, and kind of seeing the same thing in Australia. And the call out was on the industry itself, on manufacturers, on the people that are making these as well. Investing in the mechanics, and that's what it's about. I mean, the mechanics are what literally keep the wheels going on bicycles. So I think that we need to have a bigger conversation than just this podcast and the time we have here. There's a lot of work to be done, but bottom line, I wholeheartedly agree, and that's why I enjoy what I'm doing now. Advocating, helping students and people see, hey, this is an absolute amazing career. I love it, and I think that it's something that you should be able to do as long as you want and retire from it. I recently had the privilege of attending the cycle of influence a few weeks ago. I joined a panel on this very topic. We had people from a couple of different organizations. We were all in education and had this conversation, and it was fantastic to connect with them. I feel like we've got some good energy going forward, and we'll see what what's going to come of it. But I left the bicycle retail service for teaching several years ago after not being able to make ends meet. I loved working on bikes, critically thinking about problems that came across the work stand, keeping folks rolling. But I can only make so much money to stay afloat and take care of my family. So I understand. The path forward it's been suggested many times, I think, but it's not really come to much fruition. There's different associations that have come and gone that have really put a lot of energy and time into this. We're definitely overdue for some changes to the profession, I feel like. We've got a few big hurdles in front of us, but I think the right people are moving forward in the industry and kind of pushing for this professional career track, entry point, as well as sustaining those people that are highly skilled mechanics that we don't want to lose anymore. Those folks are seeing, hey, I can go work on an automobile and make 10 times the money sometimes. I worked in a service shop for Cadillac, and I was making great money as a service advisor. It was fantastic, but I love bikes, and I left that job. It was a good move for me because here I am able to kind of bring education and bike tech together. But auto mechanics make amazing money sometimes. I think right now we're up against the most number of riders in bicycle history. Those e-bikes are not going to slow down anytime soon. Cycling components, parts that we're putting on bikes, the way the bikes are built are more complicated than they've ever been. There's more compatibility concerns than there's ever been. If you look at Canyon's new amazing redesign of their in-flight cyclocross bike, I love that thing. It's amazing. Matthew Vanderpool is an absolute amazing person to ever watch race a bike, but the internal cable routing through that handlebar and stem and headset and steer tube and head tube and all the things that happens there is an absolute nightmare to work on. I think that I heard some mechanic that had worked on something similar. It took about 90 minutes just to reroute some brake hose on that bike for a customer. So, that being said, it takes a highly skilled technician. And, we need to start recognizing that and actually rewarding people for the work they're doing. It's taking, your passion and turning it into a career. Yes, absolutely it is. But what's the path forward? We need to continue to have a bigger conversation than just this. We're at a pivotal moment. The CPSC is studying lithium-ion batteries, e-systems, insurance underwriters are reconsidering who they insure. The price of bikes continues to increase, meaning the customer will place a higher value on their investment, will continue to increase their demand for validated service that matches their investment. In order to move forward, structure is absolutely needed. A path to enter the career and to stay in the career is needed as well. We, and when I say we, I mean shop employees, service technicians, shop owners, all the stakeholders that are in the industry need to support some type of industry certifications and licensing for bike technicians, I think, right now. So how do we do that? I think it's continuing to have conversations, but put those conversations to some sort of plan. I think with the education piece, that could come from education institutes like here at the community college, UBI as well. Learning outcomes must be the same. We must be able to provide some type of governance to align those educational outcomes, the learning outcomes, and the industry needs to accept those. We need to have a kind of a reinvestment in our technicians and our retail spaces as well. If you think about like a independent bike dealer, the last thing they want to do is have to put out more money. And that's a hard ask, I think, for the independent bike dealer. The industry needs to back that bike dealer. Maybe we're not making as much money for the first years as a big manufacturer or vendor, but we're reinvesting in our people. We're able to keep those quality technicians working on the bikes that we want to sell and that we want the public to ride on.
Yeah, this is a big topic, and I love how you touched on so many areas within this question, because I agree we're at a very pivotal moment, especially with e-bikes and the level of professionalism. I mean, we've always had to have certified technicians and professional technicians. I think now more than ever, we need to double down on that and really invest. And we have to run profitable service departments. And if we're profitable, then maybe we can pay these certified technicians more. So we need to get aligned on this. And yeah, it's probably a whole nother podcast, and it's a big effort by everyone. I can say that there are people taking strides. We are, I would say, moving in that direction with BIEA and the work you're doing, UBI, NBDA, we have PBMA who's still out there. So there's a lot of people who are moving in that direction. And yeah, maybe this flex is just the start of getting us there even farther. So Ben, I appreciate your answer on that one. And I know it's a huge, huge one to answer, but it is something that I'd say the industry is aware of and that we're working through right now. So you're working with your students there. How is it going? How's this class? Are you anything new in the curriculum that you've introduced, or how are things going there? Just to check in with you before we part ways here.
Yeah, thanks for asking about students. We started out with 21 students in August. We still have all 21. We'll keep them going. We have a lot of different talented people that come through the door, people that absolutely just have seen a bike, maybe not even owners of bikes, but they feel like that they can work on them. And all the way up to people that's been working on their own bikes, working in shops, like I said earlier. So our students that have worked through a lot of the core basic fundamentals of service tech work, of safety, of hand tool usage and selection, And now we're getting into some of those more specific exercises in our classroom. So our classroom structures will have, a day of theory, and then we'll put that theory to work in a practical situation. Next week is our midterm practical exams as well as written exams. So there's a little bit of knowledge base that comes into that. Just to recall a lot of the resources that we use as professional techs, getting into some of those technical documents and some of the key concepts, everything from bolt measurement through axle measurements all the way to what chemicals are applying to the bicycle itself, so lubricants, those things like that, hydraulic fluids, so we're into we've just built up our first full bicycle, starting our second bicycle as well, and with that we're able to look at the individual pieces of the entire bicycle, so really break it down into individual systems. So we've just made our way through a 2x drivetrain, and rim brakes. We'll work on this next bicycle, the 1x drivetrain, hydraulic brakes, a little bit of suspension there as well. So we're working into the midterms next week, which is 5 different practical exams through next week, and also some written midterms as well. So it's going fantastic. People are developing, people are slowing down as well, which is fantastic. They can see quality over speed, and then speed comes later. So getting to know the students, we've got a lot of talented folks, and it's always fantastic to start out with some new energy. I definitely missed the last class, but I'm getting to know these folks that I'm around as well. So
excellent.
Fun.
Eventually we'll have 21 very qualified mechanics into the workforce as potential employees. And so if anyone is listening to this who might know either a high school student or even someone who's older, because I know the program is open to anyone at any age, when does the next class enroll? Like if someone was listening and they wanted to talk to someone and suggest they come take the program, what does that look like?
Yeah, so for someone that's coming in, actually you're kind of at a little bit of an advantage because you can get some of your general ed requirements out. So let's say you start in the spring with the college, you can get some of those general ed requirements out, and then our cohorts start in the fall. So August, into the summer. So about the middle of August is when we'll start our next cohort for next year. 2-semester program, 9 back tech courses plus 2 gen eds that's required for that certification. So you could get a head start if you wanted to enroll in the program in the college a little bit early, and then just step right into the bike tech courses next August. So awesome. And then there's always thoughts around how can we better accommodate folks' schedule, and I think that's coming down the road as we continue to grow our program.
I love it. I love it. So yeah, anyone listening, this is a great opportunity to pass along the word. We'll link to the college in the show notes. Ben, I think that wraps up our episode for today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much. This has been an awesome conversation. Great questions. Keep them coming, please. I'd love to continue to talk about, that whole licensing and certification and how we continue to grow the industry. And obviously the specific questions, everything from how to start up a bike shop all the way to how to get customers to pick up their bikes. So thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
So listeners, if you'd like your questions answered on the Flex, you can write to us at any time. Send those questions directly to me, anything Bicycle Service Center related, mechanics training, bicycle assembly. My email is heather@nbda.com. We'll answer them on the next episode if they're great questions. So make sure you send over great questions. Thanks for listening. Share this episode with your friends. Head over to our YouTube channel. You can see our wonderful faces and actually watch the episode. You'll see an image of the training facility that Ben's in as well. So that's kind of cool. Head over to the NBDA website. You can sign up for our newsletter there, stay up to date with our calendar of events. Thank you for listening. And with this, we go. Bye, Ben.
Thank you for listening to Bicycle Retail Radio. This podcast is designed specifically for the bicycle industry, dedicated to strengthening our retailers and cycling community. If it is your first episode, we urge you to take the time and listen to our past episodes.